Chapter 9. We're going to talk about what is a group, why do people join and identify with groups, cooperation in groups, performance in social context, decision-making, leadership, power, group hierarchy, and then why do people leave groups? So entitativity is how much a group of people feels like a real united group rather than just a bunch of individuals. So there's two main ways that a group feels cohesive. There's common bond, when members have close relationships, interact a lot, and rely on each other. Maybe like a sports team that practices and plays together kind of thing, sharing wins and losses. And in this includes communal sharing, where everyone shares resources or responsibilities, and market pricing, which is organized exchange like paying dues or splitting bills. And then there's common identity, when group members may not interact much but share traits, goals, or face the same challenges, like when people in the same university alumni group still connect once in a while, right? Or fans of the same music artist. Social dilemmas are situations where what's best for you personally goes against what's best for the group as a whole. And the most famous example is the prisoner dilemma. So in this, two people are arrested for a crime. They're kept apart from each other, and each one is offered a deal. If one confesses and the other stays silent, the confessor gets to go free, and the other gets a long sentence. If both confess, they get a medium sentence. If both stay silent, they get a light sentence. So even though it's best for both prisoners to stay silent, they often confess out of fear that the other will betray them, putting self-interest ahead of trust. And it shows how cooperation can be hard, even when it benefits everyone. And it also applies to real-world problems like climate change or public health or sharing resources. Common dilemma is when using a limited resource benefits you, but if too many people do it, the whole group suffers. Like on Survivor, I don't know if you guys have watched the show, contestants sometimes will hoard rice or food thinking they'll need it later. But if everyone does that, the tribe ends up with no food and people would get weak and suffer because of it, right? And public goods dilemma is when something valuable like shelter or fire only exists if people contribute, but players may try to get a free ride, right? Using it without helping build or maintain it. Like on Survivor, again, building the tribe's shelter takes a lot of work and energy, but some players kind of just sit out hoping that the strong guys or the strong women will do it. Even though shelter helps everyone, especially if everyone pitches in. And same goes for maintaining the fire. If the whole tribe takes turns getting up in the night, making sure the fire's up, it would help everyone. Free riders are common on Survivor, though, and often get called out by their tribe for not working hard or being lazy, especially when resources are scarce. The ultimatum game is we both get something, but only if I think it's fair. So how it works, one person is given money, let's say $20, and they decide how much to give to another person. The second person can either accept the offer and both get paid, or reject it and neither person gets anything. So let's say your friend wins $20 in a contest. As long as they share a little bit, they get to keep it. So they say to you, hey, I'll give you $2 if you help me clean up afterward. You feel like, that's unfair. You got $20 and I'm doing the work. So you might say no, even if it means you don't get the $2. Why is this? Because people would rather give up a little money than feel disrespected or treated unfairly. This is how fairness influences decisions. The dictator game says, I decide and you have to live with it. So one person gets $20 and simply decides how much to give the other person. The second person has no choice but to accept. An example might be you're brother or sister gets $20 from your parents and they're told to share it with you if they want. So they give you $1 and they keep $19. You can't really reject it, right? It's free money, and your mom said if you want to share, but it might change how you view or treat your sibling. When do people cooperate? Well, there's situational factors. When others are cooperating or social norms support it. Like in a group project, you're more likely to help if everyone else is helping. Personality traits. People who are naturally agreeable tend to cooperate more. Someone who's kind, conflict avoiding person might be more likely to work with others. And then culture. Collectivist cultures, like Japanese cultures or Thai cultures, encourage group harmony. So people cooperate more than in individualistic cultures. Biology, right? Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, helps people trust and feel good when cooperating. Like helping a friend often feels emotionally rewarding. Fairness. The brain reacts positively to fairness, making us more willing to cooperate. Like you might be happy to split a bill fairly if everyone pays for what they ordered. Social facilitation theory says that when other people are around, it increases your arousal or alertness, which makes you more likely to do your dominant, which is your most natural, response for a task. If the task is easy or well practiced, the presence of others helps you perform better. But if the task is hard or new, the presence of others makes you nervous, right, and perform worse. An example would be Triplett's classic study showed that cyclists rode faster when racing alongside others than when cycling alone. Refined social facilitation theory says that the presence of others doesn't always help performance. It enhances your dominant response, or what you're more likely to do. If the task is easy or well practiced, your dominant response is to do well, so others improve your performance. But if the task is hard, unfamiliar, your dominant response is to make mistakes, so others hurt your performance. Okay, so there was this cockroach study, which is kind of a fun, famous experiment that helps explain how arousal affects performance, even in cockroaches. So cockroaches were placed in a simple maze and a complex maze. And sometimes they had an audience of other cockroaches watching. So in the simple maze, cockroaches ran faster when they had an audience. In the complex maze, they ran slower with an audience. And this shows how the presence of others increases arousal, which helps performances on easy tasks, but hurts them on difficult tasks, even for cockroaches. When you're faced with a task, your body reacts with arousal, but how it reacts depends on whether you feel challenged or threatened. So challenge response is you believe you can handle the task. Your heart pumps faster, more blood flows to your muscles, and you perform better. If you feel overwhelmed or unprepared, your heart still pumps faster, but your arteries tighten, which make it harder for blood to circulate and can actually hurt your performance. Like if you're giving a speech, if you feel confident, energized, that's a challenge response. But if you're panicking, your body goes into stress mode, and that's a threat response. Social loafing is when people put in less effort while working in a group than they would if they were working alone. This happens because of low accountability, thinking no one will kind of notice how much they contributed, relying on others. They expect others to carry the weight, so they slack off. Feeling unneeded, right? In some tasks, people feel dispensable, like their part doesn't really matter. And there's disjunctive tasks, which means the group succeeds if just one person solves it, or a conjunctive task. Group succeeds only if everyone performs well. Lack of motivation. The task might be boring, feels meaningless, or have no personal reward. And low group connection. If people don't really care about the group, they won't try as hard. So de-individuation is when people lose their sense of individuality and personal responsibility in a group or a crowd. It's the opposite of being self-aware. And it's more likely to happen when there's loud sounds, flashing lights, or chaos, right? Overstimulation. Being mentally overwhelmed, high cognitive load, when there's high emotional or physical arousal, like excitement or anger, and then being in a large group where no one stands out. Everyone kind of blends in. So at a rowdy concert or a protest, someone might shout, push, vandalize, things that they'd never do alone because they feel anonymous and less accountable in a crowd. While groups can make great decisions, two psychological processes can undermine that potential. So there's group polarization, which is when people in a group discuss an issue, their opinions often become more extreme in the direction they already leaned. Then there's groupthink. When group members focus too much on keeping everyone happy and agreeing, they may ignore important facts or warnings, leading to bad decisions. So a team might agree to launch a product too early just to avoid conflict, even if some members have doubts. Risky shift occurs when participants make riskier decisions as a group than they did on their own. Group polarization occurs as group discussions shift group towards an extreme position, which replaces risky shift. Persuasive argument theory says that group members hear new supporting arguments, which often leads to informational social influence. Social comparison theory says that people shift opinions to align with or exceed others' view, which is often driven by normative social influence. And cycle of comparison and amplification says that discussions strengthen and push group opinions further in the same direction. So what does groupthink feel like? Groupthink feels like being in a group where everyone seems to agree, even if you have doubts. You might feel pressured to go along with the majority and worry that speaking up will make you look stupid or maybe disloyal to the group. So you stay silent, you suppress your concerns, and you assume others must agree too. Over time, the group starts to believe it's united, invincible, and morally taking the right position, even if it's heading in the wrong direction, because no one is challenging the decision. Why do groups fall prey to groupthink? Well, groups fall prey when they care more about agreeing quickly rather than making the best decision. This often happens when members are focused on being liked by the group or want to please a strong, opinionated leader. They feel pressured to keep the group united, especially after a failure or when facing outside threats, and they shut out new ideas or ignore alternative viewpoints to avoid conflict or delay. Effective leaders tend to have certain traits. They're often extroverted, open to new ideas, and conscientious. They're also more likely to feel confident in their leadership abilities. And research suggests that effective leaders focus on meeting the needs of their followers, which can take different forms. So there's charismatic leaders, which inspire others through vision and personality, and there's task-oriented leaders who focus on setting goals and getting work done. There's also relationship-oriented leaders who prioritize team connection, morale, and support. Many groups are set up like a ladder, where some people have more power or status than others. Social dominance theory says that big societies create these ladders, which are hierarchies, and people usually accept ideas that make these ladders seem fair or normal. These roles in the group often feel fixed and can be based on random or unfair reasons. Legitimizing hierarchy means people believe that some groups being higher or lower than others is normal. The way we see the world is based on what most people around us agree is true. Most people think it's necessary to have group ranks, but they don't always agree that it's a good thing. So how do people keep believing social hierarchies are fair? Legitimizing myths, stories, or ideas that make the system seem fair. Like, if you worked hard, you would succeed, which makes social rankings kind of seem deserved. Then there's system justification theory, which is when people want to believe the system is fair, even if it's not, to feel secure. And lastly, there's idealizing high status, which is thinking powerful groups are smarter or better. An example would be believing CEOs are more talented just because of their job. And in-group bias means you favor your own group and thinking over others, like students thinking their school is the best. Mitigating comparisons is when you avoid comparing yourselves to groups doing much better so that you feel better about yourself. And complementary stereotypes is when you believe different groups have matching roles that fit together. So one group is seen as leaders, another might be seen as caregivers. And then relative deprivation theory is feeling unhappy only if you think you have less than others. Collective action. What is it? So collective action is efforts by groups to resist and change the current system to achieve their goals. Less willingness to act happens when people want to protect the current system and avoid change. More willingness to act happens when people believe the system is unfair, unstable, and that group boundaries are hard to cross. Example would be when a group feels very connected, identity fusion, they are more motivated to fight for change.